Hi, I'm Dan.
And I'm Will.
Today we will be interviewing Mr. Monday, Principal of Colmpton Village College for our BBC School Report.
We'll be asking our headmaster about the changes to education, the education system in the UK and how they can affect teaching and learning at CVC.
So let's get started, Mr. Monday. Thank you for joining us today. Obviously, as principal of the school, it must be quite discomforting not knowing how your pupils' learning will be affected by Michael Gove's decision on changing GCSE's curriculum. Do you support these movements and why or why not?
We don't know for certain exactly what's going to happen. You're quite right to say that significant changes to GCSEs in terms of the curriculum, i.e. what's studied, and also in terms of the assessment, i.e. how assessments will be made in terms of different types of exams, or courseworks or controlled assessments. That these are really big issues and they matter a lot for how we as a school try and support every pupil to achieve the best they can. I would be concerned if in any way at all these developments didn't support the first two things that we say about our school in terms of what we aim to do. Because the very first thing that we say is we pursue the very highest of educational standards, including very high standards of academic study and high levels of achievement, including as measured by public examinations, GCSEs. And the second principle is we must make sure that every single young person, whatever type they are, whatever ability they are, whatever background they are, can achieve and can succeed at school. Now, if these reforms help that, then I have to say they're a good thing. If in some way or other they get in the way of that, then I have to say that's a bit of a concern. And I think probably that in terms of the first principle, I'm trying to make sure there are very high standards, probably these reforms are trying to work very hard at that. I think quite a lot of people do express a concern about whether the second issue about will they be suitable for all types of pupils and all types of learners, allow all of them to do their very, very best. That at the moment is where people are a little bit less clear. So we've got to find out more about that. Whatever happens, I can tell you that as a school we will remain committed to those two principles.
So from what you said, do you feel that these changes have a positive or negative impact on students' learning at CVC? And do you feel people will perform better in exams or better in the old system?
Okay. We have to make sure it has a positive impact. Being honest with you, there are lots of educational reforms that take place, and I think the job of schools, certainly we would view it as the job of our school, is to look at those reforms and say, how can we make sure that this actually works in the favour of all pupils here? And what we hope is that that's an easy question to answer and not a very difficult question to answer. What I think I can say to you is that at Colmpton Village College we're an academy, and one bit of government policy, which we haven't mentioned here, but that this school and many others, particularly secondary schools, have been very happy to go along with, is to say if you become an academy you get lots more freedom over how you run your school. And I have to say that includes over choosing which curriculum and qualifications pupils should have. So we will be looking at exactly what comes out at the end of this process, and we will also be looking at what other types of qualifications there are, and we will make a decision that suits best all pupils, all young people at the school. If that meant we had to look at a different type of qualification, then we would have to look at that very seriously. That will mean discussions with governors and engaging with the community of pupils and parents carefully. But I think what I am saying to you is I couldn't and wouldn't allow, nor indeed I hope would anyone else in the school community be prepared to allow this, particularly now as an academy we've got the freedom to say these things, any system that was bad for the learning of pupils and didn't allow them to succeed and get very good qualifications at the end. What in all honesty I can't say to you is, will that be whatever these new GCSEs look like? I hope that it will be, but if it's not, we're going to have to look very carefully and say, do you know what, we might have to look at another sort of area of qualifications so that everyone can do well. So there's an element of wait and see, but there's a complete commitment to say we will make sure that the right qualifications that ensure excellent learning and excellent achievement for every single pupil here at Comberton, that's what's going to happen. And in a sense, that really is my job to help to oversee, along with other people working to make sure that happens here at Comberton.
So with the new curriculum, if these changes came into place, would there be new subjects that we don't learn taught to us? And if that happens, that should be a good thing because we learn more.
Yeah.
But others feel that pounding children with more work will be bad because students won't have time to revise for everything,
Yeah.
and that will eventually lead to more bad grades.
Yeah.
So what's your opinion on this?
Okay. Well, one opinion is we couldn't possibly allow the last thing you said there to happen. If somehow or other we engineered a situation where really pupils had no chance of getting good grades in their courses at the end, we'd have behaved rather foolishly. So we mustn't let that happen. I think it's a very interesting question. I think you asked there, are there perhaps some subjects that you don't study at the moment that perhaps it would be quite a good idea if you did? I do accept the fact that if you introduce something more, you might have to look at the overall curriculum. I think I do have a view about one area that it would be helpful if we could strengthen in the curriculum, and that's an area that's sometimes called things to do with citizenship, and it probably includes aspects of political study and understanding. I have an economics degree. I would say an element of economic understanding as well, that actually to understand our society, to play your role in our society, to vote and to want to vote, it's probably quite a good idea to understand some of these things and actually to be interested and bothered about some of these things, because I actually believe that, you know, one of the key roles that we have in education is to make sure that you can properly take your place in society, to play a good positive role as a good citizen of society, and part of that is being interested in engaging with some of these political, these economic areas of life that actually aren't necessarily part of the curriculum at all. And you know, a real concern I think all of us have is that so many people don't bother to vote now because they don't engage, they're not interested, which seems to me actually very dangerous. You know, I hope that you would be interested in these things. You will seek to influence your own society, and one of those things is to engage in the political and economic process, and certainly to vote and vote intelligently. So I do think there is a case for some more of that. Now, I'm not at all clear how much of that is actually proposed in the new curriculum. That's a personal view that has always seemed to me we should be seeking to strengthen within the curriculum, and we do some of that here, for example on our so-called PD days, but I think there's a case for looking at that very seriously. My view is that wouldn't damage all the other key areas that you study as well. In some ways it would just increase your motivation to do well in those also.
Okay.
Mhm.